I'm Malcolm Van Delst, and this is an excerpt from Do the Wrong Thing, a book series or extra long novel that opens with a woman trying to kill herself. She says, "I don't know why I tried to do this." And by way of explanation, tells her life story. You're about halfway through book 3. Working title is Shiny Pretty Gothic. 2 weeks ago in Do the Wrong Thing / Shiny Pretty Gothic, Ava met writer, publisher, and reading night organizer Damian and his band of derelict friends. This is a continuation of that chapter, which used to be called Dead Soul Landscape and is now called The Writerly Crowd. Where we ended, Ava and Damian were laying out his magazine called Desolation at his apartment. I hesitate when Damian asks me if I want to stay for supper. Of course I want to. I want to be accepted by this group, but they can barely feed themselves, let alone a guest. We're making the house specialty, Damian entices. Macaroni and cheese made with real cheese and real milk. Maddie giggles. Okay, I say, deciding that he wouldn't ask me if they couldn't afford to have me. As we eat, Maddie remarks in her soft, undrunk voice that she'll have to visit the grocery store tomorrow for more milk. Damian chuckles knowingly. I look at him, confused. Maddie looks at me, then at Damian, then grins slyly. Maddie is our procurer of milk, Damian tells me while staring down at his macaroni. He looks up at me. Whenever we run out, she goes to the grocery store at the end of the street and brings back more. I smile, but I don't understand. She has no money, he says. Oh, I say, and look at Maddie with big eyes, amazed by her bravery. You're not afraid of getting caught? I ask. No, she says in that melodious voice of hers. I've done it every week since we've lived here. Damian giggles. I went there yesterday morning in my pajamas and housecoat. Didn't even bother putting on my winter coat, put a whole block of cheese into my robe and walked out. I look down at my food. Yep, he says. They're clueless at that store, says Maddie. They don't pay any attention. I take a swig of beer, trying to digest the swirl of guilt, self-loathing, and awe I feel. Guilt and self-loathing for myself and awe for Maddie and Damian. I wish I had the courage to shoplift. I wish I had the courage to go all in on my writing or art, or I wish I didn't care what people thought of me in my clean, carefully chosen clothes. Maddie and Delilah sleep in theirs, then go out in them. Wish I could live in a rundown apartment like this. I wish I were a real something. Everyone who lives in this apartment is going to be famous. I'm sure of it. 3 years, tops. June 18th, 2017, 8:05 p.m. Damian is not my friend anymore. Still sloppy looking, he's let his facial hair grow out to a sparse straggle I see on Facebook. He still smokes, he says. I quit smoking so long ago, I can't remember the last time. 10, 15 years. We're not friends anymore because he asked me to build a website for him. Initially, he said he was requesting proposals and would I like to submit. Half business, half friendly. His email included a long requirements list and a short budget. I ignored it. He emailed me back. Why hadn't I answered? I replied that his requirements and budget didn't match. Had he thought about using WordPress? Are you too good for me? How dare you suggest WordPress? I want Drupal. Drupal is a heavier duty version of WordPress, generally used by large organizations who need to customize content and controls for a variety of site users. I'd stumbled into it and had built up a pretty solid freelance practice. Before I could respond, Damian Facebook unfriended me and stopped following me on Twitter. I sent him a curt email pointing out that he was the one who had started in on the businessy tone, and it wasn't my fault if what he thought he could get for $1,000 was off base. We've been friends for almost 2 decades, though to be honest, his recent first ever much younger girlfriend, the Damian I knew in Release and then in Arbor never had girlfriends, so I was happy for him until I found out the girl was 17. He was in his late 40s. After her, a 20-something student from China rooming at his father's house where Damian also lived. The Damian I knew was funny and irreverent, but kind. Maybe he drank too much, but didn't we all? I'm still finding it hard to square the girlfriends. I can't figure out Maddie's position in the apartment. Does she pay rent or is she merely crashing until she finds a place of her own? At any rate, several weeks after my first visit to their place, Maddie moves out further east. Her situation at this apartment is as hazy as it was at the first. Staying with a boyfriend, crashing until she finds her own place. I had the feeling that I shouldn't ask. Damian and I go visit her. In our new neighborhood, the Quebecois is even thicker and slangier than in Damian's. I hear it from the cigarette dangling mouths of men in paint and plaster covered work clothes, and from their counterparts, fat, platinum blonde, heavily made up women behind the registers of dingy, understocked dépanneurs. Maddie's apartment has a street entrance, but we go up the back via the alley, a fire escape, and a window. We'll use this makeshift entrance every time we go. Inside, it's bright, with paintings on the wall, obviously done by the people who live there. They're a lot better than the ones in Michelle's old apartment, a caliber and style like contemporary graphic novels that I might even aspire to. You crawl from the fire escape into a tiny kitchen with a 1960s gas stove. From there, there's a weird windowless passageway built into the slope of the building's roof that takes you past the bedroom to the front living room. Someone sleeps in the passageway, though. They pulled in an extension cord, plugged in a lamp, and thrown a mattress down. We only go through that passageway once, going down the apartment's steep front steps and out the door to a dépanneur. The people who live in this apartment, like Maddie, have dyed blonde hair. They are Quebecois artists, and since they don't speak English, we nod and smile, sort of. Black jeans, ripped t-shirts, Converse shoes, thin, slouchy, smoking cigarette after cigarette, they are not prone to smiles. I hadn't known this release existed. Scary, dangerous, even according to Maddie. I should watch myself. People get robbed. My mother's jaw is out of control, her teeth grinding themselves into pulp, sparks coming out of her eyes and red hair escaping like flames from her kerchief. She's in barn clothes, rubber boots, and an old shirt of Dad's. She's catching up. In a minute, she'll be on me, and then, ah! I'm awake. You okay? Damian's voice cuts through the darkness. Yeah. Nightmare? I hear the crinkle as he moves on his aunt's couch. Yeah. He doesn't say anything. My mom was chasing me. She was going to kill me. Jesus, can I get you something? A glass of water or whiskey? Damian's kind of laughing about the whiskey, but I know he's serious. No, thanks. It was so real. She had a pitchfork. I was running down our lane at home on the farm, and the faster I ran, the closer she got. Damian shifts again, and it pulls me out of the terror. Damian and I are on our way to visit his mom, about 4 hours away from where we are now, at his aunts and uncles in Jonesboro. We're hitchhiking. His aunt and uncle fed us last night and let us sleep over. Damian calls them Susan and George, not Aunt Susan and Uncle George. There's no way I could call someone that much older than me George or Susan. Willem is different. It's a different world, the art world. Age doesn't matter there. George and Susan are atheists too. I mean, visual artists like the people I model for are often atheists, but they don't proclaim it. George was an organizer. Unions, communism, capitalism, bad, et cetera, He's retired now. Last night, we sat around drinking straight whiskey with the bottle on the table in the middle and everyone helping themselves to as much as they wanted. Well, Damian, I can't call them by their first names, I can't. And his Aunt Susan and Uncle George discussed politics. The thought of really drinking whiskey with any of my aunts and uncles while talking to them as if we were all equals. Then Damian's Aunt Susan showed us to a spare room crammed with old furniture. Damian insisted I take the bed while he took an old couch. How do people live like this, treating their nephew like an adult? I know it's the right thing to do. My aunts and uncles treat us like kids. They will always treat, well, the girls like kids. When we got up this morning, George, there, I said it, made us bacon, eggs, pancakes, and coffee, while Susan stuffed sandwiches and fruit into our backpacks, ignoring Damian's protests. Then George drove us out to the highway, where now we wait.